Hey, we're live. How's it going, guys? I've got a different setup again. As you can see, I'm back with a fish tank. My boy wanted to play on his PS5, so I've been relegated to the front room. So, yeah, very different setup. I do apologise if I sneeze or cough during this. I've just getting over the flu. I've been ill for the last week, so I do apologise in advance if that is to happen. Now, tonight's a little bit different because we've got 4 guests, not 3. 2 returning and 2 newbies. So I'm going to start getting them in as soon as possible. And let's get a fellow Commodore 64 fan in. And that is Paul Retrobate.
Until right at the last second, I didn't know who it was going to be. How you doing, Nick? Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I've had to completely change all my setup like I did last time. So I'll probably have everyone asking me what fish I've got again.
Well, what fish have you got? Because I can't remember.
Red-tailed shark. I've got tiger barbs. Got some catfish in here, you know.
Well, that'll do for me. That'll do. None of them sound edible, so I'm not interested anymore. If you were seeing cod or trout or brown trout or, even pollock, yeah, I'm interested. Definitely mackerel. But nah, mate, they're not good to me.
I don't think they'd fit in here, though. It's quite a big tank. It's a 4 foot, but I don't think we'd get mackerel in here, though. Right, okay.
Well,
shall we get another fellow C64 fan in? Then that way we've got like 3 C64 at the top because that's where C64 should be. Right?
Come, you're meant to be unbiased.
That's out the window, that is.
Well, I'm quite a big Spectrum fan, so do you know what I mean? Like, I love my Commodore 64, but I'm a huge Specty fan as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. At the end of the day, I can appreciate the Spectrum, and I want one because the one I've got don't work, but that's another story. We won't go into that again. Right. Let's get our next guy in, and that is Old Style Gaming, known as OSG. How you doing, mate?
Hello. Yep, I'm good.
Hey, Paul.
We've just been talking off the camera, and we're pretending we're just meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
We've been talking for half an hour.
You're exactly how I expected you to be, Right, okay.
I'm very close to the camera now, Paul, because of you.
How big are you? I feel like I'm about 8 foot tall up here.
You sitting on a bar stool or St. Paul?
Yeah, I am actually. That's better. I feel like I put my arms around yours now.
Did you nick it? Right, okay, let's get a Specky fan in, and this man needs no introduction. Everybody knows him, and that is Sega Zombie.
Evening, guys. How are we?
Hey, Scott.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Could do with more sleep, I'll tell you that. It's the only trouble when you come off a night, it's like it completely messes up your sleep pattern, and I'm just not sleeping again. So I should be drinking alcohol, really. That would probably help. That's what I do.
I felt rough all day today, so I thought, what better way to make myself better than with a bit of my favourite Campavio Spanish Rioja. So, cheers, everyone.
I'm guessing that's red wine, right? Only because I know you drink red, and I've got no idea. I don't drink it.
What else would you drink out of a Stella Artois pint glass?
Right, okay, let's get our last guest in, and he is the current YouTuber of the year, and that is another Specky fan, Generation Pixel. How you doing, Stu?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. I'm going to apologise to the audience if it seems like I'm straining to hear I'm having some technical issues. I can barely make out you guys, but I can just about hear you enough to hold this conversation. I think maybe somebody who's C64 biased has slipped in here in the middle of the night and sabotaged me because, you know what, as Specky fans, we know we're the best, and what can I say? Somebody sabotaged me, but...
What can I say? I know where you live.
Yeah, and I know how long a drive it is for you to come and get me, so I've got plenty of time.
Even if we live in the same country, it's at least 4 hours or something.
Yeah.
3 hours. Is it really that long?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, well, it's not so much the distance, it's the roads and the mountains, and, it's not a straight line. There's no motorway to Inverness.
Beautiful drive, though. Beautiful.
It is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be better than down this way. It's all concrete.
Oh, God, it is.
Yeah. Anything's better than that. Right, okay, so there's a bit to get through tonight, and obviously there's 5 of us tonight. There's normally 4. So let's get this underway. But before we do, let's have a look at the chat. Let's see who's in there. Because there's a few bits going on here. Right, okay, who's first? Oh, Matt, Retro Skelly. Yep, been waiting for this all day. How you doing, Matt? Are you you good? Are you still in hospital? Pixel plug. We'll try and get through these as quick as we can. Johnny boy. A lot of Johnny boy. Ginger Hippie Gaming. The Ginger Warlock from Dudley. Retro Chef. 8-Bit Rach, how you doing? Oh, look, now Chef's off. Hello, Rach, like he does. He does, doesn't he? Straight away. Can't help yourself.
Rat.
Oh, hang on. What's Si saying here? So let's find out if the C64 has any good games.
Why would he say that?
Oh, I don't know. Why would he say that? I've got no idea. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, Alex.
I don't know what this guy's doing here. Like, we don't need him here. And I think it's just people talking between themselves. Oh, no, we've got another one here. Another dodgy bloke.
Don't trust him.
Steve, great to watch this live and be able to comment. Oh, yeah, because of course he normally has to catch up on this, Steve does. So he must be off work, I'm guessing.
Hey, Steve. He was asking me what Spectrum I had set up tonight. So yeah, I was telling them, but I haven't had the ZX 128 out for a while. I need to get a bit of homebrew played. I need to get some tapes on the go.
Oh, we got Cyber Snake in.
Hey, Jay.
I'll tell you, I'm enjoying his second channel at the moment. Any of you guys been watching that? His collectibles one.
Well, I've only just started getting back into Star Wars, so like, I've never watched out like that.
Oh, he's got some nice pieces on there. Not cheap. Very nice though.
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay. Everyone's having a chat between themselves, so let's get into our first topic. Now, this one, myself, Paul, and Scott would have already answered this, but I always like to ask new people on the stream how it all started. So this one's more aimed at yourself, OSG, and I'm going to call you OSG because it's easier, and Stu. So otherwise it's just going to get way too confusing. Right, so it's this one here. What got you into micros? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first if you want. Is it what goes into micros originally or what goes back into it now?
Both.
All right. So originally what happened was it was Christmas, I think it was 1983 or something like that. And me and my sister had asked for a Commodore 64 for Christmas. And like, you don't know us around here. Paul knows where I'm from, and it's not like the poshest place in the world. My mum was like a single mother, and she went out and she bought us a Commodore, but it was like a VIC 20, right? It was second hand. So me and my sister woke up in the morning, and I'd only been about 7-year-old or something like that, 6-7-year-old. I didn't know no different. She was a little bit disappointed, but we still loved it because we never had a computer before. So that's really where it started. And then, like, obviously my first real computer, what my mum got was the Commodore 64C, which was the Hollywood pack. And that came with, so the first real Commodore 64 game that I ever loaded up was like Platoon. And like proper blew us away. The soundtrack was just brilliant. The game was rock hard. I've only ever completed Platoon now that I'm older. When I was younger, I couldn't complete it. But there was some shit games on there as well, like Top Gun, Miami Vice, shite.
Miami Vice gives me like an epileptic fit almost. Like I can't even start the vehicle. I've no idea.
That is an unplayable game. I'm sure it is.
Does your copy like flash? Like does it just go mental? Like that's all mine does.
But it had Rambo on there. That was a good game. And what was the other game? What was on there? Oh, Great Escape. Great Escape was the second part, though, wasn't it? So it was a good game, though. So that's how I got into them. And then from then I went on. I was like, I used to chop sticks and that and stuff like that around the streets and sell them. and that's how I bought me like a second-hand Amiga off my friend and stuff like that. So that's how I got into like computers when I was younger. But then older, round about, I think it was about 2010, I got back into like MAME, and one of my mates, he was like, I don't know if you know Hyperspin, the front end for MAME.
What's MAME again? Is that the arcade?
The arcade one. So you've got some kind of you've got some front ends. You've got Launchbox. Everybody knows Launchbox now, but back then it was like Hyperspin was the main one, and he was like a developer on Hyperspin, and he got us back into it, and that's when I built my cabinet and got into it that way. But then I started like collecting all the old stuff to start a YouTube channel, because I could go on for ages. How you mind? What happened was, I'll tell you how I got into YouTube with Mike. What happened was, I was at work one day and I was working as a performance tester for this man who was like he was proper getting on my wick, and I told him about my son used to watch YouTube, and he watched like Dan TDM and all that, and how they were making like £15 million a year and stuff like that. And he goes, you can't make money on YouTube. And I had a bet with him that I would start making money on YouTube. So off I went on that night, and I don't know if anybody knows anything about performance tests, but then I set up loads of servers. I set my YouTube channel up, put a video on, set loads of servers up to go and watch me videos, right? So I like, and I was thinking, oh, I'm quids in here, right? I was like, this is when you could look on AdSense and see how much you were making, like all the time, not like, you know, when it just gives you what you're going to make at the end of a month. It tells you all the time what you were going to be making back then. It was before you had to have 1,000 subs and stuff like that for the threshold. It was just, you could just go on and make money straight away. And I was making like £62 an hour, right, off that, right? But then after 3 days, YouTube caught us, right? It just like blocked me channel from making any more content. But by this time, I'd made like about 15 videos, and I'd gotten the bug. And like I had a 30-day ban where I couldn't make any money or upload or anything, but I just kept on making videos. And then when I came back on, I just started hammering the videos on and did it the right way. I think I was quite lucky, because I think that I went from like no subscribers up to about 2,000 subscribers in about maybe a month and a half.
Wow.
I think that now it's really starting to get like saturated with people coming in. It's harder now, but that's how I got into it. And I just love Commodore, because Commodore's like with us all the time. I've got like a Commodore 64 here, the VIC-20, me Amiga. I do have a Spectrum here, like, but I've actually got 3 Spectrums. I've got 2 down there, like the 48K one, and then just the Plus, and then the 128K. But that's the one what doesn't actually play anything. Do you know, the one what's not compatible with any games?
Oh, that's the same. Mine seems to work okay. You've got an Atari ST stashed away somewhere as well, haven't you?
I've had to move my Atari ST because I've put my computer there, so that's actually just wedged down the side of the yard.
Keeping the door closed.
That's what I've got. Get down there. But I've got loads of stuff. I've got like I've got like Dreamcast. That's my original Dreamcast stuff when I was young. My original Master System. Got Sega Saturn, which GP, who's in the chat, he went halfies on that for us. I remember ages ago, and I've still got that. I've got loads of shit lying about. I didn't even ever use them. It's a bit like, you know, when you were talking today, Paul, when you were saying about people having stuff on the shelves just for show, for like the minis and stuff like that. That's sort of what all my stuff is, because. And this really winds us up when people talk about emulation, because I use emulation more than I use any of my real systems, because it's far easier. It's easier for streaming. It's easier for everything. I mean, there's nothing like the smell of a Commodore 64 though when it starts up. It does like have a burn and like smell. That's
probably the carpet from the PSU.
My PSU is like the oldest one ever known to man.
Oh, is it the cheese grit? Is it the cheese fucking? Oh, it is the cheese.
It is. Oh, god, them things are death traps.
Right.
They get really hot, don't they?
It's just warm.
Please tell me you've got a power saver. Have you got a power saver?
A what?
Like, you haven't, have you?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't.
It's like something that plugs in to the end of your PSU before you plug it into the Commodore 64, and it's got a little relay. And if the PSU starts to knock out over 5 volts DC or 12 volts AC, or it's the other way around. It's 5 or whatever. If it goes over voltage, like the relay cuts out, so it doesn't burn your chips out in your Commodore.
No,
64.
I haven't got one of them. I tell you what,
That's
I have
the
got.
worst one for it.
My circuit boards are actually out of a marijuana house. So my brother,
I think they still do that.
my brother used to he has houses where he rents out to people, and in the paper it was about 4 years ago, his house down the street from us. Some Chinese people lived in there, and they were growing the marijuana, and it was the biggest haul what the police had ever gotten. But then all it did is the police went in, chopped the plants off, right, and then just left me brother to clean everything up. And he sold the extractors and everything to people down Manchester, and then
he had a whole new setup. He could have just started growing. He never looked at the same place twice.
Do you want these circuit boards? And I just put it in. So it's got it's got 12 plugs on, and then it's got a timer and that on. It's good. But that's me. That's me. You can move on now.
Well, you've got to live up to something there, mind Stuart.
I was going to say, Stuart, you've got to beat that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any beating that. I mean, definitely no marijuana houses in my recollection anyway. What got me into micros was the Atari 2600. I absolutely begged my parents in 82, for an Atari 2600. My cousin had won the year before for his Christmas in 91. And the only other thing that I'd seen any games played on was a ZX81 at the time. Now, as a 9-year-old, the ZX81 isn't that exciting. And when you compare it to the Atari 2600, it was night and day. So for a whole year, I absolutely begged for this Atari 2600. Christmas Day, 82, open up the present, and here's this little black box with the ZX Spectrum on it, and I had no idea. Turned to my dad, as you would do as, a 9-year-old just about turning 10. What's this? Asked for an Atari. My dad said, this was so much better than an Atari. You'll get so much more use out of it. And we plugged it on. I had 2 cassettes. You had Horizons, the tech demo, and Hungry Horace.
Oh.
And let me tell you, I played Hungry Horace for a good month before my birthday and got new games, and I was absolutely enchanted, not just with how much better the games seemed than the Atari games, because they just seemed less blocky than the Atari games, but also the coding. When you get your ZX Spectrum back in the day and you open it up and you get the manual, you get this whole manual of coding in it. Yeah, and when you can sit down there and you can type some lines of code, we didn't call it coding back then, we just called it programming. Coding's a very new term, as to me anyway. And you could type in these lines of code and the stars and stripes would draw on your screen, and you had done that. It was absolutely mind-blowing at the time. The starburst patterns, making little tunes by yourself, beep 1, beep 2, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. And from then on, I had no interest in the Atari whatsoever. It wasn't versatile enough for me, because I wanted not only to play the games, but to learn how to make them. And back in the 80s, unfortunately, I couldn't do a line of basic other than what everybody does, 10, print, Sega Zombie is great, 20, go to 10, run. That's all I could do now. But back in the 80s, I loved to sit and write code. And I'm probably one of the oldest in the group here just now as well, so... BBC Micros would just coming in to the schools when I was in high school, and I could sit down and I could do things that the other students couldn't, age 11 going 12. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Now, I stuck with Spectrum, let's see, I got the 16K in 82 for my birthday, I got some new games, and I got the RAM pack, the 32k RAM pack, which takes it up to the 48k. And then after that, it was the Spectrum Plus I got for the next. It was a year and a half after that. And then after that, the Plus 2 with the tape deck. Oh, when you got that tape deck attached to your machine and you didn't have to mess about with volume, fantastic. And again, from there, I went on to... Where did I go on to from there? I kept that right up till 1989 when I got the Plus 3 and had that until 91. Now, that wasn't the only micro obviously I had experienced at this time, because other people did have. Now, in the west of Scotland, however, the Spectrum was king, without a doubt. I mean, I knew no one that had a Commodore 64, absolutely no one. And I think part of the reasoning for that was that the Spectrums were made in Scotland.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And when something's made where you're from, you know, you get all behind it. I did know a couple of guys who had CPCs, you know, the Amstrads with a green screen. And people knock that green screen, but I think there's something magical about it. And I don't know, it looked computery, you know? I think it's hard to explain it. I couldn't explain to my kids. They wouldn't sit and watch a green screen. They wouldn't watch a black and white movie at the moment. But and I knew a kid that had a Dragon as well, but not a single soul that had a Commodore 64. We referred to them as that Yankee computer. But yeah, that's what we said. No, we don't want that Yankee computer. And just about everyone who was into the micro scene or any sort of gaming, because I didn't even see a Master System or an NES until about 89, 90. That was the first time I actually laid hands on any of those console systems. So, I mean, yeah, it was all specky for me.
We used to call the Spectrum that wanky computer.
Yeah, but we were proud of our obviously our British machine and made in Scotland. And yeah, you know what kids are like. And back then, yeah, the playground would have been awful if you had a Commodore where I grew up anyway.
To be fair, I was the only one who had a Commodore. I think all my mates had Spectrums. And
really?
They were good lads.
Like where I'm from, which is probably 12 miles from you, something like that. You know, like Farringdon, just as you're coming into Sunderland. Like
that's only about 5 miles, isn't it?
Where like everyone had Commodore 64s. There was a couple of people had Speckies, and I used to go to their houses and we used to play their games. They would come to mine. But yeah, the majority was Commodore 64s, and then it was the Amiga. And then when I got to like senior school, everyone had Amiga. That was it. You had an Amiga, or you were out.
See, that was another thing. Didn't have an Amiga. I wasn't that fussed with moving on to the 16-bit micros because I was starting to veer away towards IBMs at the time.
Yeah, PC.
But the only 16-bit micro I owned was the Atari ST, and that was because Commodore was the name on the Amiga.
Well,
but to be fair, the only game
probably more Commodore.
That's the thing, yeah. When you look at it, but the thing is, the only game I ever played on it was Championship Manager. That was the only thing I ever played on my Atari ST. That was it.
Stunning.
Oh, fantastic game.
Oh, I failed my GCSEs because of that game. I'll never live it down.
True story. Right, okay. Let's hang on, let's have a look. People are talking in the chat, see if there's anything. Oh, we've got Zypho here by the looks of it. Yes, we have. There he is.
He's talking about Paul.
Which one's he talking about? He must be talking about you.
That's the grumpy Geordie kid doing.
You. I'm a Macam.
Right, okay. Let's have a look and look at our next topic. Now, this one come up last minute because there's something that's happened this week. A couple of you guys will know what I'm on about here. And that is, everyone's entitled to an opinion, even if it's wrong. And the reason I've put it like this is because recently there was a podcast and an individual claimed on there that the Commodore 64 was rubbish and didn't have any good games. Now, the reason I've got a kind of an issue with it The reason I've got a kind of issue with this is because the guy that's saying this has got a C64 Mini behind him during the podcast that he also admits is sealed, so he's never played it. And we know he's never played Commodore 64, so how would you know how the games are? So I thought we'd help him a bit, and let's list some good Commodore 64 games, shall we? Because apparently they're all rubbish. He compared Batman, I think, on the Commodore 64 to the NES, which I thought was a terrible comparison, to be honest.
It's a terrible comparison, but Batman isn't even really a great game on the C64. It's all right, but it's not like it's for me. It's not even top 30. It's not even top 30 game. There's loads of games. He obviously doesn't know. He's just a bit of a penis.
I mean, for starters,
anybody who's talking about the NES, like on an English stream, as if like it's the best computer. Do one. That's what I say. Like,
well, it's no comparison, is it? That's the thing. I mean, when you look at it, if you're not including the Famicom, the Nintendo wasn't even over here till 1986. C64 had already been over here 4 years by then. So
no one could afford an NES in 1986. Exactly. They were a fortune,
and not many people had them either. Majority of people who did get consoles got Master Systems, from what I could tell.
I did get an NES for Christmas. It was the Turtles one. I don't know what year that will have been.
That was sort of 1990, 91, I think.
Somewhere around that, yeah. I thought we'd help him out and list off some good games, because one that I can think of right off the top of my head is Turrican 1 and 2.
Come on.
Well, they were developed for Commodore 64. They were developed originally for the Commodore 64, weren't they? And then they ported into the Amiga. So, people who know their systems would know that.
Great game. Coming from a specky guy, an absolutely fantastic game on the Commodore 64 that I play an awful lot is Space Taxi.
I knew you were going to say
I love that game.
Yeah,
that is never had that over here, though. That wasn't over in the UK. Was
really
the only one of that?
So that's why I had it on a copied disc back in the day.
So when I started like doing videos on the best games for the Commodore 64 and that, just loads of Americans won. Where's Space Taxi and that? I'd never even heard of it, and that's why I'd never heard of that. There's a few like what do they have? Load Runner. I think Load Runner was American only as well.
Good game.
But
I've got a feeling that actually did come out on the NES, Load Runner. I'm sure it did. I'm sure I've seen that somewhere. But yeah, so I've just ruined Paul's. Any other games you can think of, Paul?
Well, I do enjoy this one. I think if anyone's never played a Commodore 64, this one makes your brain work a bit.
Oh, Creatures. Yeah.
That's a really good game. And if we can talk about a bit of modern stuff, definitely Sam's Journey. If you can tell me that this would be any better on a Nintendo, then I just don't think you're telling the truth. I just think that this is the best game that's ever been made on the Commodore 64. I absolutely adore this game. I just can't think of a better game. And if anyone thinks like they're rubbish and wants to play a game to find out whether it's rubbish or not, this is your game. Play this.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic game. That reminds me of Kid Chameleon on the Mega Drive. When you told me to play it, Paul, I was just blown away by it. It's a tremendous game. Yeah. And it's got a very similar mechanic, hasn't it, to Kid Chameleon, which is one of my favourite Mega Drive games. So I love it.
I absolutely adore it. And I think like music fuels my nostalgia from back in the day. I think, I love me 8-bit music. And for me, that just it blew me away, the music. I just think it's amazing. I really do. Definitely play it.
Right, and any other games anyone can think of? Stu, can you think of any for the Commodore 64? I know you're a specky guy.
Absolutely none. I have very, very little experience with the Commodore.
Oh, hang on. We've got IK. We've got IK Plus, Nice Ninja 2, Green Beret. Good choices.
Yeah, definitely. I've got IK Plus on the telly here, but I've had to move me setup because Paul made us move it because he said it was too far away.
I was really joking.
Catechus need to be on there. Then you've got Zach McCracken, which we would never have Monkey Island without Zach McCracken. So there's just loads of great games for C64?
I remember a game that I really liked, and I was envious because I did have a friend that had a Commodore 64 back in the day, and my uncle had one too. And it was Hyper Sports. I thought that game was tremendous on the Commodore.
I think it's better than the arcade.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
Version.
Yeah.
Anyway, now my camera's back.
What happened?
Oh, the camera just decided it was done. I've had enough Commodore 64 talk. I have almost zero experience with Commodore 64. Now, my good friend Ross Retrobear did send me quite a suite of emulators. Well, not the emulator and ROMs. So I've got a pile to sit and get through. So the first one I went to, unfortunately, was Airwolf, because that's a game that I actually quite like on the Spectrum. And I know a lot of people don't like Airwolf on the Spectrum.
It's rough on the 64.
It doesn't hover.
Yeah, it kind of backed up my theory. I was so glad I went the Spectrum route after playing, Airwolf on the 64, comparing it to what people don't like on the Spectrum. So I've got a lot of work and a lot of catching up to do with the 64.
Right.
Does that mean you're playing a bit of Commodore 64 at the minute then, does it? Or...
Sorry?
Are you playing a bit of Commodore 64 at the minute?
I've got a selection of ROMs on and I'm working my way through. Yeah, no.
Have you played?
Yeah.
Have you played Bubble Bobble on the C64? Because that's a must. Great music on that.
Yeah, but Bubble Bobble works perfectly in everything. It could run on a potato.
Best version C64, best version.
Right. Okay. I'll put that on the list for the next one.
It is one of those games, though, Bubble Bobble. It's got a pretty decent conversion on everything that's been released on, I think.
Yeah, but if anybody tries to tell me that that's better on the NES, I'm sorry, they're wrong, because it's not. It's really not. It doesn't sound
that's because it's better on the Master.
Permanently.
I mean, honestly, I played the NES version not so long back, and it don't sound right. It don't. Like, you can't beat the SID chip. Like, yeah. And then it's a good point here from Zypho. Look, Sonic C64. Don't get it out on the NES, do you?
I was impressed with that, actually, Sonic.
But definitely
like the Master System one, doesn't it?
Play it in 60 hertz. I think it sounds more like the version we got when you play it in 60 hertz. Like, it just seems a bit faster, obviously.
What's this one? Moon Crester. Anyone know this?
I've played that on the arcade.
It's not one I've heard of.
When we're talking about great games for Commodore, how can we forget this?
Oh my god! Mate, that's rare as out that.
No, well, I bought the Tappy Uno, right, and it came with that. I don't know why that came in the box was.
I think we should also mention Spectrum games that you think were better on, if there's any that's better on the Specky than what was on the NES. It's only fair.
Well, I think if you're looking at RoboCop, Renegade, that's another one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Renegade. Totally.
What about Chase HQ on the NES? What's that like?
Yeah.
Operation Wolf. Come on.
Do you know what I think the problem is with a NES, right? And what he misses, right? He says things like Batman. I can imagine him saying, Bionic Commando is better on the NES. Yeah, it is, but it's the totally different games because they've been like NES-fied. They're not even the proper games anymore. Yeah, they are better games. They're better games to play, but they're not the original game. Do you know what I mean? They're not even close to the arcade.
Yeah.
For Bionic Commando.
The last game I played on the NES was Alf. And it wasn't a great experience.
You shouldn't be admitting to that. Your life, by the way.
Yeah, it was Alf. Yeah, tough game. Any
games you can think of there, Stu, that are better on the Spectrum, would you say?
Than the NES?
Well, than the C64, than the NES, anything like that.
Well, as I say, I can't really compare to the C64 at the moment because I haven't had a lot of experience with it. Something that I'm rectifying, and the same goes with the NES because I didn't go down the Nintendo route either. I mean, as I said, I didn't see a Nintendo until 1990, and I played Turtles on it, and I just said that's never going to catch on and walked away from it. And from there on in, it was IBM PC, and then when the mighty Sega released the Mega Drive, that's when I came back into consoles and stuff like that. I'd even get rid of my Spectrum, because I was at a point with the micros where it wasn't close enough to the arcades. It just wasn't close enough to the arcades for my liking. And I thought, something else better has to come along, and nothing did until I was fortunate enough to come across the Mega Drive in 91. So I went from Spectrum to Mega Drive and IBM to Sony. So
yeah, it's quite a jump, isn't
it?
Yeah.
It's a good point here from Eddie Sneaker Freak. Chase HQ and Operation War for excellent on the Amstrad. I'd like to play them. I've never played them on the Amstrad.
They are good.
Looks pretty good as well.
What's that?
I think we're actually missing the Amstrad person on here, and Zypho says he would come on as one day for you. So
yeah. I mean, the last person I had on that was an Amstrad fan was 8-Bit Rage, and Retro Bear dabbles as well, don't he? You don't find so many people. That's the thing. You always find Commodore 64 and Specky fans, but not so many Amstrad.
I've got a lot of support for the Amstrad because my best mate had one.
I think there's only Zypho, 8-Bit Rage, and Lord Sugar. I think I'm the only people who like the Amstrad.
I mean, I've told this story before, but a mate of mine had an Amstrad, but I never got a chance to play it because he got the Amiga 500 and he got a little bit excited watching the football one day and kicked an orange, which hit the wall and then landed on his Amstrad and killed it. So it all leaked into the computer and killed it. So I never got a chance to actually play it, and which is a shame. What's this? Wrong button. If someone could get Sonics from the Spectrum version onto the Amstrad version, the Chase HQ, that version would be king.
I think personally, playing both ports of that, I think the Spectrum version runs slightly better than the Amstrad version, even though the Amstrad version looks really good.
Like stills, the Amstrad steals it. It
looks lovely, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does.
But I think it runs better on the Spectrum.
Yeah. I loved Action Biker by Skips. I remember that game.
Yeah,
I remember that.
That's a really good game on the Commodore 64, actually, but it's rubbish on the Spectrum. It's like a different game.
It's dire on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
It's horrid.
Yeah.
Spectrum arcade conversions were closer gameplay than any other. Yeah, I would agree with that. They were closer, definitely closer than a lot of the 64 ones. Most of the bad games on the C64 were arcade conversions, weren't they? Let's be honest. Just don't make statements if you have not tried both consoles or computers. Yes, that's a fair point, because the person who made that statement on that podcast had not played both. We know that. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get on to our next topic. Now, this one, we haven't really discussed this. We briefly touched on it, but I wanted to go into it more because I know that Paul's got one of these devices and I know Scott's got the other. And that is, let's talk Spectrum next and EnGo, because I'm very interested in this because I'd love to have one, but I mean, the Spectrum Next is really expensive. The EnGo now is getting up there and it's difficult to find as well because people are obviously getting that.
Because there's two for sale, brand new. I think it's €250.
That's not bad, is it? That's pretty good.
Yeah. $250. That's before you import sort of shenanigans, I would imagine. But that's the price. It's there was 3 last week. There's only 2 at the minute.
Oh, okay. Bit much. I can't really justify paying that at the moment. But the thing for me, right? I think we had this chat recently. I think it was you I had it with Paul when I asked if you could emulate it, and I think you said yes, didn't you?
Yeah, you can now. Yeah, you can emulate it.
And that's the thing for me. You know, if it was something that came out 30 years ago, then I'd want the original. But if you can emulate it, I'm thinking, well, you know, it's a new device. Probably not much different, you know, so... But I mean, you obviously got the EnGo not so long back, Paul, and you put it into a new case, didn't you? Have you got it handy?
Originally, it came in. I have got it somewhere. I was trying to shift it on the swap shop last time I was on there. It came in a Spectrum 48K casing, but obviously the problem for me is the keys. I find it, and I know Stuart's going to go mental here, but like those keys drive me nuts. Like I'm used to like proper buttons, but you know, if you've grown up with them and you're used to it, then yeah, fair enough. Like I can understand that just using those keys alone must bring back nostalgia because they're very memorable. Yeah. So for me, not being used to that, yeah, I had to take it out the case and put it into something else. But I think when I bought the EnGo, I think I only paid like 110 or 100 quid, or maybe 150 at the most. It was something like that. But yeah, I've got this like a cracking case that I built.
Oh, hang on, let me put you on full screen so we can have a look at that properly. There we go.
So, yeah, I went online. I think this was like maybe about £80 or something altogether, and it comes as a kit, and you've got to build it yourself. And the keys are really nice. I have seen someone at the minute, someone on Facebook was saying that the print actually has worn away from theirs, but on mine it hasn't. But yeah, essentially, it's just like,
yeah, it's nice. I like the case on that.
Yeah, and I think it looks nice. But it took me ages. Oh, and it's got a little switch on the back as well, which is quite a big thing when it comes to Spectrums, apparently. I didn't know that. But yeah, comes with a switch, so that's pretty handy. But obviously, my worry was how compatible was it with the actual Next.
Yeah,
and I've had no issues so far. And as far as I know, the people who actually put all the time and effort into the Spectrum Next, they actually made all that information like free to other people to use, so they could make them as well, which is amazing, really, when you think about, you know, they must have put like quite a bit of money into like the development and what have you. And yeah, this is the product of that, and it is identical. I've got the upgrade, I've got the extra speed, I've got the Wi-Fi module, all that's in there.
Yeah.
As I say, I think I paid about 110 quid for it, which when you compare that to the Next, I think like the going rate, it's got to be between 400. If you get one for under 400, I know Size in the chat there, and he won his on a raffle, which was the same bonus ball number twice in a row. Can I just add?
I can't believe that. Like, so lucky. Yeah.
Because like I think there was a couple of people had to pay and they hadn't paid yet, so they couldn't go on that number, and his number came out. Devastated. What's the chance of coming out twice in a row?
Yeah.
Twice in a row. But yeah, normally it's between like 4, but I've seen people asking like 6, like sometimes over 600 quid for these things. So
yeah.
I think they're going more than that. Since it was announced that the Kickstarter 2 has been delayed another year, it seems to have sent the prices even more crazy.
Yeah, will do, won't it?
Well, when that got when that news got released, like I had a video called the Spectrum EnGo. You know, it's a Spectrum Next sort of thing, like a clone of it. And like that went from like about 800 views. I think it's over 2,000 now because it's like you can save money by getting the EnGo.
Yeah, of course.
It's just to me, it seems a bit crazy that the people who are making the EnGo get the chips, but the people who are making the actual version, like the Kickstarter 2, can't. It just doesn't. I don't get that.
I'm not sure if it is to do with the chips. It might be to do with the keyboard. There's a lot of custom stuff.
I thought it was the FPGA chips that they couldn't.
Oh, it might be. I don't know.
So they've had to reprogram it all and like just change the operating system slightly. And
Skelly's just put here, isn't an EnGo just a mister using FPGA chips? Project out there that uses the same technology that emulates loads of systems, so I wouldn't limit myself to just one system. Okay. Well, Skelly's
but the thing is with the EnGo, it is FPGA, but the thing is with the EnGo is you can put other emulation in it. It can do other things.
Yeah.
Oh, can it? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, no, it can.
No. But I think it's great. I love it. Like I really do. It's for getting footage and stuff for like gameplay. It's just so easy, you know, just to get the file on the memory stick and away you go. HDMI out, straight in. You can. Oh, it's just it's really good.
Got a question here for you, Paul. Where did you get your T-shirt?
eBay. It wasn't brand new. It was second hand. And I saw it on eBay. You can tell it's off eBay. It's a little bit tight. It's probably I probably would have preferred a size up if I'd bought it from a shop. But yeah, it was an eBay purchase.
Oh, hang on, what's technically
I've not seen one since either.
Oh, you can get them. I've seen them. Yeah,
it's kind of like reflective, sort of.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got running here on this TV. I've got Redshift running through the Next.
What a game!
And that is a stunning game. A stunning game. It's not a Next game. It's a Spectrum 128K game. But it is a tremendous shooter. Obviously, I got the original Next. I treated myself for my birthday last year because I thought, do you know what? I want the Kickstarter one. And because it got announced that the Kickstarter 2 was not going to be constructed or built in the UK. And I thought, with it being Spectrum, for me personally, like what Stu touched on, I remember my dad, the reason why he got Spectrums is because they're British, they're UK. And that's why we had Spectrums all the way through in the 80s, because it was like an important thing. And to me, I thought, I want the Kickstarter one because it was built in the UK. So that's why I've gone for that one. And I managed to bag mine for a good price before the prices went ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of... The problem is with the Next at the minute is a lot of the developers are now holding fire in releasing a lot of the newer games. And they've not re-released some of the games they released early when it launched, which is a bit annoying. I know Rusty Pixels that have got some really cool games. You can buy them digitally, but I like to try and get all the games physical if I can, because they look really cool in their cases.
Well, Tetley's just saying here, new Spectrum Next game due on Kickstarter next couple of days. Shovel Adventure, the next quest.
Oh wow, I've got to jump on that.
Yeah,
I just love. I'm a sucker for collecting things, So I just like them in their little cases.
Oh, hang on, let me put you up on full screen because I want to see some of these covers.
This is one of the best ones. I love that Warhawk cover.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
that's a tremendous game as well. We've got Treasure Hunters.
Yeah.
And another thing to add is that a lot of the developers do a lot of these games are Russian developers. So that's why we're not seeing many games as well at the moment, because of the issues there at the moment.
Well, the other thing is, do you really want to buy them off them at the moment as well? That's the other thing, isn't it?
And this is a tremendous game. Bikers Deluxe. It's very similar. It's sort of like Hang On.
Yeah, it looks good.
That's a cracking game. The QB one, that is Qbert basically, and that is fantastic. That runs brilliantly on the Next. That one is awful.
Stay away from Grelock's Contagion. What was that other one that was bad?
Yeah.
What, this one?
Oh, that's it.
This one that took 4 months for me to get to work, and when I did, I wish I hadn't.
Yeah.
yeah.
The really bad version of Boulder Dash. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And that is tremendous. Delta Shadow, we're talking about the NES earlier, and this game will play like a Spectrum 128K version of this game. And then obviously this is like a spiritual sequel to a NES game, which the name's eluding me. I can't think what the name of is it Switchblade? No, not Switchblade.
I know what game you're on about, but I can't think of the name of it
Yeah,
either.
I can't think of the name of it, but there was a couple of them on the NES. And this game's sort of like a sequel to it.
Yeah.
But this is a tremendous game, this.
Good
I need to put more time into it. It's a great little game.
Good artwork on the cover there. I like the look of it.
But the original games are really hard to get. The ones in the really small cases. I managed to bag this one off Facebook, but as soon as anyone sells any of these ones, they're
Delta Star, is it?
Away. Yeah, it's like a Gallagher sort of clone.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Really good. Yeah.
All right, what's this size saying? Yep, I need the games and can't.
I've never seen those small ones before.
Yeah, that was a developer that I don't think they are around anymore.
Side user error. I knew someone would end up saying that. Oh, God. QB is great, and Greelocks is crap. I don't like speed either. Right, so someone who agrees with you there.
Oh, Tetley agrees with me. Yeah. Awful games.
Cyber's just playing Delta Shadow.
If I put my hand up, can I go to the toilet?
Have you got a pass?
I'll be like 2 minutes.
Mate, no worries. Nothing worse than that. You know when you're on a stream and you're busting for a slash. There's nothing worse.
Yeah.
Been there. Power Blades. Power Blade?
That's it. Power Blade. Yes.
Yeah, Tetley's just said it as well, yeah. What's this funny? Did you guys see the article in the British newspaper about retro game collecting, and now after our generation it will no longer exist?
I think with the introduction of like non-physical media going forward, I think eventually it won't. But then you've got to think like it'll be like people who collect like 4-tracks. Like eventually, the people who think that's nostalgic are dead, so they won't be collecting that anymore. So I kind of get that the right in a way, but let's not think about that.
See, I don't think we're going down that way because video games are an art form, and people forget that they're an art form. They're our generation's art form. This is where it was created. Now, do people still collect works of art from Rembrandt and Van Gogh and that?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, 50, 100 years down the line, there will be people collecting ZX Spectrum games and they'll want the machines to run them on and play them and appreciate them for what they are. I've got no doubt in that. This is, I mean, and you've seen the change in culture from the 80s when playing video games was seen as something you didn't want to be seen doing. You know, you weren't the cool kid when you were playing video games in the 80s unless you were in the arcades.
Yeah.
Playing at home wasn't seen as cool. Whereas nowadays, well, everybody wants to be geek chic, and I think we're not to worry about that. It's the art form of our generation, and I think it'll go on for forever.
I think people also, as time goes on, are going to start craving physical media again.
Yeah.
Because
it's
already getting to that point. I have people come into my shop, into the retro realm, and they're just like, they said, I'm fed up of this streaming service because this film isn't available, and they're buying the film off me on DVD because, you know, your choice is taken away from you, isn't it? That's the one downside of film, especially at the moment. I suppose not so much with music. I'm not sure because I'm still old-fashioned. I play CDs and records, so I wouldn't know what like the music streams are like. But looking at it from a film point of view, I get an awful lot of people come in and say, you know, oh, I want Rambo because Rambo's not on Netflix, or I want this, or I want that. And I think people will start realizing that their choice is decided for them if they stick with just streaming stuff.
And the chat agrees. I mean, look here, Tetley, poor kids of today won't be able to collect games from their generation. Servers will be switched off.
Yeah.
And then again here, numerous games were already permanently lost simply because the servers were shut off. Yeah. And I mean, from a streaming point of view,
Ray, you've got to think kids won't have the nostalgia what we had because nothing's magical to them anymore.
True.
You could load a game up what was the real life, and they wouldn't bat an eyelid.
I don't know. I wouldn't say that's true of all kids.
When we were young was magical. It was like stickmen running about on a screen. What you know? So whoa, what's going on here in our homes? And they'll never have that feeling.
I wouldn't say it's true of all kids. I mean, my boys, I introduced them to the Commodore 64 a few months back, and they loved it. And in fact, when they grew up,
yeah, bit was good.
when he did with the tape, and he didn't realize you got to push the button down. He didn't know how to put the tape in. It was alien, you know. Yeah, but I mean, even growing up, I mean, they grew up watching DVDs of, you know, cartoons I was watching, you know, back in the day, and they've always said to me they're better than all the new rubbish, you know. So I don't think it's true in all cases. It kind of depends on if the parents make an effort to introduce them to that stuff, you know?
Yeah, I'm talking about new games. Like, obviously, I built this arcade for our Ben, for my son. He loves the Amiga. He's on it all the time. But, like, if I'm talking about who's going to look back and think, oh, can you remember when we played bloody Skyrim or something like that? We're not going to look back and think, I want to play that game. Well, you might, but...
No, I think that's not entirely true either, because my kids are in their teens now, and they're starting to get nostalgic for the first games they played on the PlayStation 2 when I introduced them to gaming. So they're starting to get the nostalgia bug from where they started. See, the problem with nostalgia is you need quite a while before you get there.
Yeah.
I mean, how I feel about the ZX Spectrum and Hungry Horse now probably is nothing like how I felt for it when I first played it. I mean, it's all mixed up with a whole lot of other emotions in that now. You know, a lifetime experience. So, I'm not worried about that. Not with my kids anyway. As I says, they've started to get nostalgic for PlayStation 2 games, which is worrying because that means the prices will be going up soon.
Yeah.
It's already happening again.
Yeah.
To validate that point, is the younger generation that are coming into my shop. They are all chasing PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and even younger people are chasing DS and 3DS. That's, they're the most popular things.
360 games are starting to go up. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, certain titles, definitely.
I can't remember who said it, but someone said when they stop selling them in the charity shops, that's when it becomes collectible. And it's almost that couple of years, do you know what I mean? Then it does.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
What's Rate saying here? Mind you, in the future, you'll get dead high-tech people that will use their eyes as the controllers, then people like me who was looking for the disk drive on my new laptop. Yeah, probably very true, yeah. We'll all end up like that in the future at some point, I dare say. Parents have to put the effort in, bridge the gap, totally agree. And like I say, my boys, they like a lot of stuff that I grew up with over what they've got now. I mean, like with the streaming thing, I can attest to that because during COVID, I had Amazon Prime, right, which is great. And I did start to downsize my DVDs because I had the films on Prime till the internet started playing up, and then you're screwed, didn't you? And from that point, it was like, do you know what? No, I'm keeping my physical collection of DVDs and Blu-rays because I can watch them whenever I want. So that taught me that one. Physical is always better. 80s.
You're sort of seeing with games as well, thinking about it, is the physical side of games is going to go more and more with these special editions, special releases, because you're seeing it with film, aren't you? The film collectors don't go and just buy a standard Blu-ray anymore. They buy a steel book. This and that with it. And you're seeing it with gaming as well.
Like, I see that more on, like, the PlayStation Store, like, all the different editions. But, like, when you go to CX, obviously Stu might know better, but, like, when you go there, you get, like, the normal version, but then you do maybe get, like, one special edition, but you don't get the same as, like, what's online. You get, like, loads of, like, different ones you can get on there, So...
Like Retro Rewinds just said here, Stranger Things series is a testimony to the fact that people still love the 80s. Yeah, I mean, look what they've done with that Kate Bush song. It got the number one because of that show.
Of all the songs they could have picked for the 80s.
I know. We'll all be sick of it, though, before long. You watch. Prime, I'm starting to find that more and more. You still have to pay films. Yeah, definitely true. Yeah.
IPTV, way to go.
You just need to play games. Then having a computer sort it all for you. There's a huge difference there, and people are starting to catch on. Yes, that's right. I think you're right. Right, okay. Let's move into our next topic. Where is it? Right, this one, because this one should be interesting. What's the dodgiest repair you've ever seen on a micro? Now, the reason I'm asking this is because when I picked up my first Commodore 64, like I said, a few of you guys already know, it was a bit dodgy. It was glowing. It obviously was 5-finger discount. And I had an issue with it where it kept overheating. And I remember my sister's boyfriend at the time. He said, "Oh, I'll have a look at it. I think it's the power pack, right?" Now, at the time, it had one of because it was a bread bin. It had the dodgy, wedge of cheese, like what OSG's got there. And so he thought it was the power pack. It turns out what the guy had actually done was he'd replaced the fuse inside the Commodore 64 with a piece of foil. And that's why it was overheating. There was a piece of foil there instead of a fuse. So, yeah, could have caught my house on fire, basically, because he couldn't be bothered to pay for a fuse. So, anything you can think of, Paul? Because I know you used to be taking a lot of systems apart and that. Anything dodgy using?
I've got to say, like, out of all the knackered ones I've got, it's not due to someone trying to repair them. It's due to PSUs, like blowing chips or blowing the fuse. It's always been down to stuff like that. Luckily, I've never come across something that has been a dodgy repair. However, before Martin says it in the chat, and I know he will,
he already has. I'm just
I feel like this is
Let's have a look. Let's put his comment up.
Oh, has he really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, like I had a Commodore 64, and like I was making sure it was okay, and then just before you're about to box it, you think, no, I'll just check it one last time, just to double check. And yeah, I set it all up. I took photos, I took a video of it all working, and then when I put it back together, I put these like where the ribbon plugs into the motherboard. I put it one pin out, then I put it all back together, and then sent it off to him. And I was like, "Mate, it's 100% working." As soon as he tries it, the keyboard doesn't work, and I'm like, "What? Like, there's no way that it can't be working." And yeah, so but we got it working in the end. Well, I say we, like Martin done all of it. Basically, he opened it up and saw it was one pin out, and he put it back together. So yeah, the only dodgy repair that I've seen was
the one you did. Have you seen this comment here? Look, a computer put in place by the US Navy. All items on the seafaring vessels need to be bolted down, so they bolted it right through the middle of it. Christ. Interesting.
I think one of the craziest things I've seen like that, when I used to be in the army, I was a permanent staff member in a place called Battis in America, which is British Army Training Unit Suffield. And we used to do a lot of testing of different like bits of army equipment that they were going to bring in, and this was to do with the Challenger 2, which was like quite new at the time. And when I fired a round from the tank, the problem was because the round's spinning as it goes out, it creates like a kind of an EMP, like because it's two metals going against each other so fast, and it kind of magnetizes it, like or it's meant to magnetize it. I'm not sure which, but it would create like a 1 or 2 second blackout on the radio. Now you might not think that's a problem, but it is if you're firing blue on blue. Like if you're firing on a target who's one of your own, and they're like, "Stop, stop, stop,"
you can't hear it.
You've got a radio blackout.
Yeah,
like the army spent thousands, like probably millions, trying to sort this out, and all it was a piece of earth wire from what stored the battery to the tank itself, which was obviously earthed out through the ground. So the EMP would just be earthed out straight down into the ground. But at the time, they had this radio like completely like separate from the tank because it was in like that much protective because it was so new. So it was all like, like it wasn't touching anything. It was like stored really nicely. And then we were like drilling a fucking hole in the side, putting a bit of cable down to the earth point on the negative, and then Bosch put a thing in, and that was it. So many people tried to sort it out, and all it was a piece of earth wire. So there you go, just a crazy story.
OSG, any dodgy repairs that you've come across?
No, I've done some myself. So I done a crappy thing on here, which is I put that on there.
Oh yeah.
Which that's a bit crap inside, like, and it's like the worst ever if you say guns around the corner. But that'll do. It does a job.
That's a design feature.
But then probably the worst. Don't hate us for this because it's on this Atari ST thing here, right? So what happened was, right? You know when everybody else pays a fortune for Retro Bright.
Oh God, where we going?
So I just bought this stuff from Superdrug, right, for like £1 odds, B Blonde or something for Oxide, right? And I did me Atari ST word, right, and it just went like a zebra. You've never seen anything like it. So now at the moment, this is just primed at the moment to be resprayed.
Wow. You're just trying to make it look like an Amiga, aren't you?
No, you can get the proper color. It's like a Pebble. It's called Pebble or something like that, and it makes it the proper color of a ST. But I did me Amiga, which is my original Amiga at the same time, and I did this Dreamcast at the same time with the same stuff, and it came up all right. But that's gone like it's starting to change color again now. But that was bad. That like. Because that was in my mum's house. My mum was like smoked like 5 million tabs a day. So that's my repairs, what I've done badly. But other than that, no. I've never had anything badly repaired, like back off anybody or out like that.
Right. Stu, anything you can think of on a micro?
I can confirm your story of the using tinfoil for a plug fuse, because I've done that myself.
Oh.
Yeah. What can I say? It was the 80s. Health and safety wasn't even in the dictionary then. So, but funnily enough, I have just bought my first soldering iron, and I plan to start working on some dodgy repairs of my own.
Oh, that's where the trouble.
And that's mostly due to Goodwin's place. I've been watching too much of his stuff. He just gets you hooked in, and you think to yourself, you know what, I could give that a crack. So there could be some dodgy repairs coming up in the near future.
Right, okay. So I'll ask you this question again.
Have you tinfoil in a car fuse before?
No, never in a car fuse, no.
Oh, here, once I sold this car, and it was a XR2, right? It was my first car I ever had, and I was trying to get the alloys off it before I sold it. I was going to put some normal wheels back on it because the alloys were good, but then the hub nuts snapped. So I snapped 2 hub nuts, right? And I thought, I'm not going to get these off. So I just Loctited them back in and then sold the car. That's bad, isn't it?
Do you know what, though? You're not the only person to do that. I used to know a guy that was only a mechanic that did that. So, yeah, you're not the only person to do that. Scott, anything you can think of on a micro that was a dodgy repair?
Not really. I can remember back in the day having lots of issues with Spectrums blowing up, because of pulling the power out of the back because it didn't have a reset button.
Right,
Pull it out, and if you done it, it was like
you could blow it.
Playing Russian roulette, really. You just didn't know whether it was going to blow it or not by just pulling the power out and putting it back in. Yeah. And I can remember the first time I'd done that. I think my dad got it from Dixon's. I think one of our early Spectrums, and I can remember my dad taking it back. And we had to wait 38 weeks for it to be repaired.
Really?
So in that time, he sent it off and bought another one. And we got it back like 30-odd weeks later. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a stupid amount of time. Christ, what are they doing to it?
God
does it
knows.
take that long?
Yeah.
They were building a new Spectrum.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, as for dodgy repairs... I've pulled plenty of old micros apart, and there's been spiders and God knows what in them. You know, where people have just had them stored in sheds or in attics. You find all weird stuff that's got inside them. But yeah, no, I ain't really seen any dodgy repairs.
You've seen this comment,
I'll tell a little bit of a lie. So way back when my kids were younger, we bought DSs for them. And I bought the Chinese ones, you know, where you could buy them online, and I bought them. And
they're the ones that blew up, aren't they?
So they one stopped working or something. I think I had to change the battery on it or something like that, right? And I opened it up, and it just had like jumper cables all over in it. And I was thinking, oh my God. And it was like obviously not a Nintendo product, but we've still got them now. They work. We'll do all right. Who's that? Has that come back with a cap on? Is that up there?
GX4000. Yeah, that one's right.
Yeah.
That was the one, if you plugged it in the wrong one, you blew the system, didn't you?
That's right, yeah.
The thing is, right, on mine, I haven't got the monitor, but I don't understand how you can plug it into the wrong one, because they are different size plugs on the back. But I know the PSUs on the GX4000 are an absolute bomb. Like, you never ever use them. Literally never plug them in. But yeah, I just like when I look at the monitor, it's like the same sort of thing as the CPC 464, isn't it? You know, you can power it from the monitor, but I'm like, the holes on the back of the GX4000, I'm sure they're different sizes. So, like, did they really make them the wrong way so that you can plug the higher voltage into the lower voltage and not vice versa? Do you know what I mean? Because like lower into the higher wouldn't make that much difference really, but plugging the higher into the lower obviously does. Surely, did they really get that wrong? Really?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
It really is.
Someone's saying here, was it Tez put here? I got a blowback jolt from trying to fix a VHS video recorder.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've been unsuccessful. I've got about 8 VHS video recorders that I thought I could repair them all. 3 I've made worse. I think I've made them irreparable, but
they're a tricky thing to fix, though.
They're not easy, because you've got a lot of mechanical stuff as well as the electronical side of it. And it's usually the mechanical side that goes wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day, I had one of them double-deck video recorders so you could copy the films.
Yeah.
And, they were a nightmare, because you could always guarantee that if one of the tape decks went, it was always the bottom one. Always the bottom one. So you got to take the top one out to get to the bottom one. And and it ended up to a point where I couldn't repair it, put it in a shop, and then, got it fixed. And then it'd go again, and it's like, do you know what? This is now costing more than the bloody thing cost in the first place, So, and then thankfully DVD come out, so that solved that problem. But
my VHS acts up a bit in the shed when it gets really cold. It starts doing like some crazy shit, and I didn't realize until it had. In fact, I think I got this from you, Scott. The Thing on VHS, and it had a good old chew on that. Like, and it took me ages with a pair of long nose pliers, like literally trying to get the tape out, and I put it back in and stretched it, and that. And it's still all right, but there's a bit of it's a bit ropey when you watch it. That's the joy of VHS.
Yeah, you've got to have that with VHS.
See what Skelly's put here. Wasn't a repair, but I did an install second hard drive in my Amstrad using cornflake cardboard and gaffer tape for insulation. I really hope he's joking there. Like, great British engineering.
I might have another dodgy repair for you here, what I did. And everybody will hate us for this.
Oh, damn.
What have you pictured?
It's me, Amiga.
You heard it here first.
Right, so I got sick of doing that, so I just cut the side out and put the
To be fair, if you ever want a case,
I'm never ever going to sell it. It's my Amiga. I would never ever sell it. So
I've got like, I don't know how many cases. I went. I sorted the garage out. I can't remember. I sent you the photos, but I sorted the garage out a few weeks ago. And like, even I can't believe how many Amiga cases that I've got. I need to send you one, Lee.
Yes, yeah. Speaking of Amigas, I've got mine here because I got an Amiga Mini because I never thought I was going to end up with an Amiga. And then Martin kindly gave me this, and we worked out an arrangement. Now, as you can see, and before anybody says it, because I've already had this.
Where's my Amstrad? My Atari?
It's not the Hulk edition. Before anybody says it, I know it's green. It's because it was very yellowed, so Martin painted it. But it has got, let me see there, it's got Gotek in it. He didn't cut the side out, though. But, yeah. So, it's funny, I got the Mini. Never thought I'd end up getting another one of these. And then within, a couple of months, Martin had got a 1200, and he's like, do you want my 500? I was like, yeah, why not? So, yeah. And I'm enjoying that. The only thing I've got to try and work out, I need to try and work something out so I've got the Gotek screen on the top, because it is a bit of a ball ache when you've got to be looking around the side of it to go up and down the games. So that is something I'm going to have to look at. You can get like a bracket that goes on the top to put the display in, can't you?
Paul, did you get an Amiga Mini?
No.
I think
I don't really like the minis and that. I don't like. I have no nostalgia for them at all. So I don't mind people having them. I've got nothing against the minis and stuff like that. But it's just emulation. I've got Raspberry Pis and stuff like that. I'll just put it on there if I wanted it. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything for me. I'm not a collector like you. I'm not a collector of stuff. I collect stuff what are like special to me, sort of things. You know what I mean? I don't like go and make big collections of games or computers or stuff like that. I mean, half the stuff here I only got because I was doing comparisons at the time, like that Sega Saturn where I said GP chipped in, and that's because I was struggling to emulate a game. So he says, "Oh, I'll give you half the money," and then I paid half the money, and I got that, so I could then have that footage in me video. So I don't like collect like you. I'm not a collector.
God, it must be so much cheaper not being a collector.
It is.
It's even worse for me because I don't just collect games; I collect other stuff as well. So yeah.
I've really caught the collecting bug a little bit recently. After a long time, over a year of not buying stuff, like just Amiga stuff's really just. I think it's literally it's due to this. It is due to this.
Yeah.
I've been playing it just so much more. It's just been like it's been on the big TV downstairs. When everyone does one, I'm straight on arcade pool, bit of Swartz, bit of cannon fodder. It's just I can just go straight in. I don't have to fanny around, or it just works and it's easy.
Yeah,
I think that's why it'll do all right. And the graphics are good enough so that even people who play games now, like side scrollers and stuff like that, like people now try and make games look like that a little bit. So I think some of the games you can get away with,
See, the reason why the Mini's handy for me, even though I've now got an actual Amiga, is because if my boy's in the bedroom playing his games, I don't want to be sitting in there playing something and listening to him shout down his headset. So I can bring the Mini in the front room and hook it up to the TV because my TV in here hasn't got a SCART socket. So I can't hook up the original Amiga, only the Mini. So it comes in handy for that.
See, that's why I just put all my money into like a gaming laptop. That's what I bought because I don't have a TV in that way. And so I've got like 3 kids. I struggle to find any room in the house to be anywhere. People say, "Oh, why don't you live stream and stuff like that on the night?" Because I sit with my wife on the night. She's watching the telly. I've got my laptop out on the side, but we're still on the same couch. Do you know what I mean? If I started going off in different rooms and that, I think that our relationship would sort of like fizzle out. You know what I mean? And,
I'll be honest.
She talks to us, and I just like shoo her away and that when she's talking to us because I'm not really listening to that.
I tend to only really play games when nobody's in the house, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Because you, like you're saying, if you're doing that all the time and you don't see your missus, that don't last long, does it? So
there's never nobody in my house ever.
Join the club.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's great about the minis, though, because like I got the Amiga Mini because that come out right at the time when my Amiga 1200 died.
Mm.
So I'm like, I know it's going to cost me a wedge to get that fixed. So I just grabbed the Amiga Mini just to get my Amiga fixed. But the Commodore 64 Maxi, I've got a Commodore 64 set up here, but I keep getting loads of issues with them. They're annoying. I don't know why, but I'm really enjoying the Commodore 64 on my main TV, the Maxi. And it's easy just to get the ROMs, put them on there because I haven't got the nostalgia for it. So for me, the C64 Maxi being the modern alternative is perfect for me to play these games. And I ain't going to know. I'm not a connoisseur to know whether the emulation's is good enough on the SID chip. It still sounds good to me.
I think the emulation's perfect on Windows.
Yeah, it's a good equivalent, I think.
It's probably the same as me and the EnGo when it comes to playing the Speccy games on there.
Yeah.
I can't tell the difference. Although there probably is, but, I don't
Same
know.
with FSUAE. what I use for the Amiga. That's perfect. I don't understand these people who go on about emulation. I might do a video and do like a proper side-by-side comparison on these things, because that last video I did on the Atari versus the Amiga, people's like saying, "Why have you got the Atari on like a windowed screen?" That's what it's like, and they get not. So I've been taking videos of it on me proper Atari and the Amiga, because they're saying the Amiga is windowed and that when it's not, and it's just people have like a fuzzy mind when it comes to like things from back in the 90s. They're thinking, no, it wasn't like that, but it was. It's weird.
See, what I love is when people make a comment before they've actually watched the rest of the video. I love that.
I put that on all the time.
Oh, you didn't put this in there? Yes, I did. You haven't watched it all clearly. Like, you know, you've had this, Paul, haven't you?
Why did you put this game in at number 5? Sorry, why did you put this game in? It's number 5, but
and then you come back and said it wasn't.
It's like,
well, it is.
Actually, watching my video, like, it was on the Commodore 64 GS. Everyone was kicking off, going, "Oh, there was loads more games. There was like System 3. There was like all of the original like Commodore ones that they brought out." Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, look in the video title, the description, and like watch the video, and it's literally, I explained that it's only the ocean ones that I was covering.
Well, obviously, I get that all the time, Paul, because I done like, let's say I did the ocean one. Somebody will come on and say, "Missed Last Ninja out."
Exactly. Well, yes, someone said that. I was like,
yeah,
not an ocean game. Oh well, that doesn't matter. Well, it does, because this is the ocean game.
Did you look at the thumbnail? Like, hello.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, it was in the thumbnail as well. That was
it was in the thumbnail. Like, oh.
Like, I can't make it any. What can you do? You know.
What is it? Americans call them? Is it mouth breeders? That's what they call them, isn't it?
Well, I don't know.
That's what we call them, dickheads. Don't I call them anyway?
Don't mince your words, mate. Right, okay. Let's move on to our next topic. Right, this one's a nice and easy one. If aliens came to Earth and you had to explain microgaming, which game would you show as an example and why? Go on in, Paul. What would you show and why?
Well, some people might not know this, but Commando for the Commodore 64 that we've played in Germany was called Space Invasion. Because you weren't allowed to show gratuitous
war games,
to kill
war
humans
games or anything like that. So it had. I've been after a copy forever. I haven't got one, but for me it would be like quite special. I really, really want that game, and I've never seen one come up. And I've been looking for 4 or 5 years. I've never seen one yet. But I would probably show them that and say, look, unless you sort your shit out, this is what you're getting. And I would show them, because like Space Invasion, you're shooting little green men and stuff like that, and say this is what you're going to get if you if you bring your shit. So Space Invasion on the Commodore 64.
I don't know. Is threatening an alien really a good idea? I mean, they travel a long way in a spaceship, more advanced. Like,
we don't take any shit. We're very used to killing each other, so I'm sure we can find it quite easy to kill you. Do you know what I mean?
Imagine if the aliens got here and doing like Jeff Bezos' like penis rocket.
Oh God, coffee. Yeah? Right, okay. OSG, what game would you pick and why?
If it's a micro game, I would probably pick. With 2 games, I would probably pick, and that would be like Turrican 2 or Myth, because they have 2 genres in them. They've got the platform and they've got the shoot 'em up genre within that game, and I think that's a good thing to show them, because that's the brilliant games. I mean, not a lot of people know that Myth has a shoot 'em up section in it, because it's the last level, and not many people get there, but. It's a great game. I think that would like sums up.
In Myth, it's got the music on the beginning, but it hasn't got the music during the game, has it?
No, but it's got good sound effects in the game.
But the music at the beginning is amazing. Get to know the genre.
So he done the loader and the main screen, and then he does like the loader in between levels, and also you do get like the loader in between levels.
Aye, his music's awesome. Like
Show and tell, he's mint. He's probably my favourite. I like him better than Rob Hubbard.
Hubbard's my favourite, simply because.
Nah,
you're
not allowed to put no Hubbard stuff on your channel. Or Hull's back. You kind of put it on, else you get
you get copyright
straight away.
Yeah.
What with Hubbard?
Yeah, you do get copyright, but there is somebody on. I think he's on Twitter who you can message, and he will remove that.
Change it or something. My intro music is Commando, but it's like Rob Hubbard's newer version. Like he done like a updated version about 2 or 3 years ago.
And are you never ever getting copyright for it?
But it's only on for 20 seconds. So maybe there's like a certain amount of time that YouTube has to pick it up for, or I don't know. But yeah,
I done a playthrough of Last Ninja 2, and Matt Gray copyrighted me on that, and I went off like on a mission. I'm sick of this because it took us ages to get through that game as well. And it turned out it was Matt Gray, and then I thought, do you know what? I didn't care if it's Matt Gray, let him have it. Do you know what I mean? Because he deserves it. I think if it's these other companies that I think are just picking up on it and then just putting these copyright strikes in or whatever they get money for it.
For some reason, like if I do ever get copyrighted, it's normally when I do the quiz, and it's like because I do the music round. There's like a few different types of music, and every now and again I'll get picked up. But every time, the only countries that I get picked up on, and I don't know why this is, but it's Syria, Iraq, North Korea. It's like all these countries that you would just like. You think, oh, okay, I'll live with that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not removing it. I'm just going to leave it in. But like, it's the most random countries. It's like they're all like these like communists.
They must just have different YouTube policies. That's why.
Yeah. Oh, tank lights turned off. Just distracting me then. Someone's just put here ghouls and ghosts because while they're trying to get off level 1, you could do a runner. That's a very good point. Mind you, they might have several hands, so they might find it easier. Right. Generation Pixel, Stu, what's your choice?
Well, coming here, they probably want to get to grips with the language, and there's a lot of decent text-based games on the micros. So I would sit them down in front of Minder, because I would never get through that. Because, I mean, regardless whether you know English as a first language or not, trying to get anything done in Minder, I mean, oh, yeah, they'd be there forever, and I could probably hop off in their spacecraft myself. So
go for a joyride.
Yeah, go for a joyride.
Someone
very Glaswegian.
Someone did put in the chat here about Zypho's Nightmare. I've been watching that because I haven't played it.
No, they will attack us if we played that. Attack us.
I do like the look of that. Like the fact that it's got some Star Wars stuff in there is good enough for me.
Are we getting a physical release or what? Like what's happening?
I think it is going to be a physical release. I think Yellow Bellies. No, he did some physical releases, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
Charity, I think. I don't think he's going to do it again. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
definitely for a copy if he knocks any more out.
He's done a good job, though. I mean, was that the first game he's ever done, or
second? He's done one called Bugs Quest. Do you know Nova Bug?
Yeah.
So he done a one for Nova Bug called Bugs Quest, and then he's done Zypho's Nightmare, and then he's doing a one called for Retro and him now, which like loads of us YouTubers are in that. So I'm in it. Kim's in it. Who else is in it? I think Top Hat might be in it. I'm not sure. There's a few people. Larry's in it.
Nice. Oh, I look forward to that.
Thanks, Tim. What's that on? Is that on the Amstrad as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must be easy to code on that Amstrad or something.
I think someone has said to me before that it is quite easy to code on that compared to other things. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I've heard.
On the
Spectrum,
on the Spectre, they used to code on the Amstrad and then
go
over, didn't they? Yeah.
So So R-Type on the Amstrad, the original R-Type is actually an emulation of the Spectrum.
Really?
He didn't have time to do it. I can't remember what he's called. The main bloke from Spectrum who did the R-Type. He didn't have time to port it over, so he actually just emulated it onto the Amstrad. That's why it's so slow. But then the new R-Type is good on the Amstrad.
So a game I've played, I mean, I've only emulated it, but Relentless on the Amstrad, I like that. That's really good. Yeah, people say the Amstrad can't
You'll need to play Red Sunset. If you like, because you told me Redshift, didn't you? Did you tell me Redshift?
It might have been me. I don't know. It's one of us. Yeah, it might have been me.
Well, you need to play Red Sunset on the Amstrad. That's mint.
Right, okay. I'll keep an eye out for that. Oh, 8-Bit Rach, yeah, she likes Relentless as well. She did a video on that. I think you did one as well, didn't you, Paul?
It's literally, it's always here. I think it's my favourite Amstrad game.
Yeah.
Do you know what's missing though? Relentless. Relentless is missing soundtrack.
Yeah, no music. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, but I mean, there's loads of games like that. Like the game itself's awesome, but there's no Banshee. If that had music, it already, I think, is the best shooter. But if it had music, it would be maybe the best 16-bit shooter. Do you know what I mean? Just, I don't know, quality game.
Right, Scott.
I'd probably pick Ultimate Play the Game. I'd pick them because I think they wrap up in one what micro gaming's all about, really. Because I think the Ultimate Play the Game games were tremendous, and all of them were coded on just 48K. Sort of like, well, Jetpack was only 16K. So yeah, I'd probably pick Ultimate Play the Game, because then that would explain to them because it's the pure gameplay with the micro games that they're so simple but so addictive, and Ultimate Play the Game got their games dead right, like with Attic Attack and Saber Wolf. I thought those games were amazing games, so they're the games I'd pick.
See, my one, I mean, I should point out that Generation Pixel's just gone. I think he might be having an issue. Oh, no, hang on. Is he back? He is back. Right, let's have him back in. He's waving. I can see him. The game I'd probably pick would be Bubble Bobble, because I've got a different approach to Paul here. You know, if someone's come light years to Earth in a very sophisticated equipment, likely to annihilate us like within the blink of an eye, I think I'd want to show him a game that was less violent. So, so Bubble Bobble would be my choice. You know, a nice fun game, just blowing bubbles, jumping on the bad guys, you know, and then on to the next level. I think a puzzle game would be a good way of doing that.
Well, let's hope that in Bexley Heath there.
So that's my choice.
Well, to be fair, I haven't got the game anyway, so I couldn't show them.
Right, okay. So let's move into our last topic, because I always like to get onto this one every stream. Homebrew. So anything that you might have picked up, your views on Homebrew, all that sort of stuff, anything you want to discuss about Homebrew, now's the time to do it. I think Paul might have recently picked something up, haven't you?
I was going to talk about this game here, Rogue 64, which is like a dungeon exploration game. It's not a shooter, but I have been as well.
Is it a 64 version of the original Rogue, which was like a Unix game, wasn't it?
It's like it's randomized each time you play it, so it's like a dungeon. Like,
yeah, it might be.
Was it more like Gauntlet sort of thing?
It's like not as busy as Gauntlet, but
is it like the Sword of Forgal or whatever? Is that what it's like? Does like the maze come on as you move and stuff like that?
No, it's more like a flip screen. Like when you go like off to the end, it like moves on to the next screen, and then so I suppose it'd be like Smash TV, but like more of a like adventure version than that. Not as much shooting.
Is it not a shoot 'em up, Paul?
It's definitely not a shoe.
I think they're wondering what you're getting at with that, aren't they?
You guys are going to think that everyone who's called Paul from Sunderland loves Commodore 64s, Amigas, and has an awesome sense of humour.
Anyway, because it's true.
Obviously, it's true, but yeah, you get like a beer mat in there. You get a lovely manual, and then this game is on cartridge.
Yeah,
so
very nice.
For the Commodore 64, and when I first started playing it, I thought this is definitely not my type of game. I even spoke to Bitmapsoft and I was like, I'm not sure whether this is like the game for me to review. And then I played it for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and my mindset had completely changed. It does look like it's a really good game, but I definitely need to put a lot more time into it. This game's took a long time to review, but it's quite it's challenging for me. They'd have been way better off giving it to someone like him to play, but yeah, they've got me instead. So yeah, that's the homebrew game that I've been playing these last few days when I've had a chance, which was about half an hour on Tuesday. So, do you know, like I'm trying my best, but real life has got to come first.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's true for all of us trying to find time, isn't it? OSG, anything you've played recently or any views on Homebrew?
I love Homebrew. I don't actually buy any Homebrew. Like I say, I'm not a collector like you, but I do get sent a lot of Homebrew. I mean, I've had I got Puzzle Bobble like a year before it came out, and I play tested that for a year.
There's no physical release of that, though, is there?
Is there not?
I don't think so. No, they're really missing a trick there. Surely there's got to be money made. Do you know what I mean?
I'll message you. I think it's Bass he's called. I'll message him and tell him. But then I'm playing at the moment. I've been playing Devil's Temple for the Amiga, which is a Graham Cowie game. He done Bomb Jack Beer Edition. He done the Amiga new version of what do I want to say here? What's it called? This game I don't like. It's I can't remember. Somebody tells me in the chat. Somebody will know what it is.
Yeah, is it the side scroll and beat them up one?
No, that's Devil's Temple. So Devil's Temple is the Kung Fu Master one. So I've got that version. What he's released to me. That's supposed to be due out this month or next. I'm sure he's going to be at NERG next weekend where I'm going. He's got a table at NERG, so I think he's going to try and sell some physical copies there.
Are you going?
Oh, I'm going, yeah.
Are you going? Oh,
yeah,
mate.
On a Sunday, I'm going.
Will you say how much they are? I would like a copy of that.
Yeah. I'll ask him. I'll ask Graham. I'm friends with Graham, so.
Yeah, I'd love one of them, because that game looks really good.
It was Rygor. Rygor was the other one he did quite recently. That was good. He's done a few. He's called Geezer Games. He's got some good games. But I just love all of the Homebrew, what's coming out for all the computers. I mean, Redshift. I love shoot 'em ups, right? And that has got to be the best 8-bit top-down vertical scroller, right, that I've ever played.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant game, isn't it?
It's even better. I had this argument with Zypho the other night because he likes Alcon 2020. It is good, but it's not. It doesn't feel like Redshift's like playing an arcade game. Yeah, the colors aren't there, but it's like playing an arcade game.
Yeah, it's very responsive, isn't it? And
yeah,
it does. Like
even the launch off at the beginning, when it's just love it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It reminds us so much of like the tour plan games, like Truxton and stuff like that. It reminds us of that.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, I mean, Skelly's been playing this a lot in hospital, isn't he, on his laptop, and he's just put here, Redshift is unreal. Have you played that, Stu? Been a Specky fan yourself?
I haven't played any of the homebrews that are coming through just now. I'm watching tons of content on them, and I'm loving the passion that we're seeing from. Well, I don't know why we call them homebrew games. These are professional coders. You know?
Yeah.
They're professional coders. It's not like back in the 80s when homebrew games were people like me sitting bashing out some basic. I mean, and the passion that they're putting into these projects, not just in the games themselves, but the artwork for the physical releases and the special editions. I mean, I think it just goes to show that it's going to be a long time before people lose the passion for this generation of gaming, without a doubt.
I think it'll always be there.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying, you know, like with like certain artworks, and like if games do turn into something like that, then it's always going to be there. I hope so anyway. I really do.
In this current generation of homebrew, it's just the new generation of artists coming forward and putting their brushstrokes onto the next generation. So
yeah,
it's amazing the limits that they managed to push these machines to. It just goes to show that if back in the day a lot of the coders had more time, you know, if they hadn't been rushing for deadlines and things like that, what they could have achieved, knowing what people know now. You know, that's what amazes me, how people managed to do this on these old systems.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Scott, anything homebrew you've got recently, or?
This is down to OSG and a video he done a while ago, and that is the Sword of Iana. I've just put the loading screen on here, but what a fantastic game that is. When he done his, was it a top 20, wasn't it, Paul?
Sorry, Scott, is that Batman behind you just up there?
That is, yeah, that's Batman on the Amiga there. I did have it on the Spectrum earlier because it's an amazing game. I love Batman.
Yeah,
it's a lot better on the Spectrum, I've heard.
It's really good on the Spectrum. Really good.
You played the book.
I've heard the NES version's quite good. Is that right?
Yeah, NES version. Yeah.
The NES version's good as well, but it's a very different game. You know, it's more of a Nintendo game, whereas these Batman games are more based on the film and follow the film a bit more. You know, because that's what Ocean done back then, wasn't it? You know, they were the godfathers of putting out licensed games, film licensed games. So you know.
And you've played both, so you can make a decision on that, I suppose.
Well, yeah. I would actually say they're very different games. I really like Batman on the NES, but it just feels like a lot of NES games. Do you know what I mean? It's got that formula of Mega Man and all the big platform games of the NES of that time. You know, that's what they were all about. Whereas the micro games were more focused on sort of following the films. You know, RoboCop on by Ocean was such a massive success that they sort of like followed that formula, if you will, with all of the movie releases.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Agree.
The Sword of Iana is a fantastic game. When OSG put it as his number one, I was like, what is this game? Because I thought I was kind of up on Spectrum Homebrew and indie games, but this, wow, it's blown me away. It's an amazing game. Not usually my sort of game, but I love how it's got a lot of modern sort of game mechanics to it, like how you can sprint. Because a lot of these micro games, you find that like when they're an adventure platform type game, it's a slog going backwards and forwards and all of this, but touch of a button, you can run across the screen. I like how you can use that to jump over big pits and things like that, and it's great. The animation is awesome.
I like the animation for that. It reminded me, although it's obviously 8-bit, it reminded me in the way it moves a bit like Flashback. You know, like when you jump up and climb up. You know.
Yeah,
I thought that was quite impressive when I saw that. It does look good.
And they've got it just right because it's a game where you get that little bit further each time. And I like that. They've got that down to a T because some of these games can fall flat on their ass because they're too hard or you just can't get past and you just die at the same bit every time and you get angry with it and turn it off. But with this, I get that little bit further or where I'm getting a little bit stuck, I'll go back to it and I get past it. And they've got that balance perfect with that.
I originally seen Sword of Iana on Zypho stream. So Zypho streams like Amstrad. So I'm weird me because I'm like a C64 person, but I like hang about with the dweebs of the Amstrad.
Because they're Friday night, 9 o'clock by any chance.
Do you know why? Do you know what is? C64, I love it, right? But the community is a bunch of arseholes, right? Right, proper. They're just know-it-alls. The Amiga's the same. They're just dicks. I can't buy them, right? So I hang about with.
You do realise this is your subscriber base you're talking about?
I don't know. Not people in my chat are all right. The odd ones are dicks, right? But like I find in these Facebook groups, it's very toxic and stuff like that. But I stumbled across Zypho ages ago, and they just welcomed us in. I hate the Amstrad. I don't hate it now. I don't love it now. But Zypho like streams all sorts during the week on Twitch. He doesn't just do Amstrad. He does like Spectrum. He does Commodore 64, and that's where I seen Sword of Iona for the first time, and it was mint. So, well, there's your shout out, Zypho.
You see a hobby. Turns out I am a dick.
No, but are you a dick? No, but are you a dick? That's what I want to know, because you don't. Not all C64 people. Me and Paul aren't, and Lee isn't there. He loves the C64. We're not dicks, but like I just find the majority of people are just like proper know-it-alls, and they just don't want to help you. They just want to be arseholes.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to swear on here, Lee?
Don't worry about it, mate.
Don't worry now.
To be honest with you, if it happens, it happens. I'm not bothered. So we're all right. We're good.
Look, we've been saying Commodore 64 all night. I'm sure any swear words are fine.
Zypho, I think we like taking the piss out of ourselves, and everyone really don't take our machine too seriously. Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. Unless somebody's slagging it off and they've never played it, then it's different.
The way I look at it is, whatever machine you grew up with when you were a kid, that was the best machine in the world. And
of course,
you will be adamantly. You will die by that sword.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. It's weird, but yeah.
You know what's great now is we get to play all of it, don't we? You know, but back then it was like I can remember fighting with my friends in the playground over was the Spectrum better than the Commodore and all of that. Literally physical fights over what was the better.
I would even go as far to say, like when I got hurt at work and I was bored and I was looking on Marketplace and I saw Commodore 64, and this was like in about 2015, and I bought one. At that moment in time, if you'd said to me I'd own a Spectrum and an Amstrad, I'd be like,
exactly,
absolutely not a hope in hell.
Yeah,
not a chance, not a chance.
But we can appreciate them all. You know, I'm really appreciating the Commodore 64. And that's down to the Maxi, because it just makes it so simple for me. I haven't got to buy the tapes. I haven't got to, it's just bush. And
You've got a memory stick now.
I've got to address this comment here, look.
I've seen you say that before. That's not the first time I've seen that comment.
And then Retro Rewinds put this.
You're fired.
I think now through like emulation that we get to play all the best games on all the systems, right? Without the heartache of buying the shite. Yeah. You know what I mean? So sometimes I used to go with my friends and he had like a Spectrum game and it was crap. But then I went one day and he had Wave the Exploding Fist and it was like mint. And like that's when I started playing the Spectrum. Yeah. It's a mint game. It's a mint game on all systems, that.
Yeah, that is.
Right there. I was playing it the other day. That was all.
Oh, look. Zypho has a crush on you, RS. She started something now.
We all knew that, didn't we?
It's why I'm so pleased I sided with the IBM PC.
One of my friends at work, I was talking to him about computers, and his first computer, which he loves and says it's the best, was Tatung Einstein or something. And I was getting, what's that? And I like, what on earth? You had one of them.
No, but there was one up for sale on Facebook. Sion, like, Ginger Hippie Gaming, he loves his like random, unheard of computers and stuff like that. And he's like, check this out. So I was having a look, and like these things are massive, but they do look pretty cool.
Well, he said it was good, but I checked some of the games out were like really bad. But it's what you remember back then, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, the VIC 20 wasn't great, but like some of the games on there I still love. Do you know what I mean? The first few games that I ever played.
Golf was one of my favourite games back in the day, and that was a VIC-20 game, I think, originally.
This game, right, is one of the hardest games ever known to man, right? Road race, right? But me and my mate like mastered it, and you had to proper change gears with the F keys and that. It was the hardest game ever done, but and it's crap when you look at it now. But we loved it. It was like being like Colin McRae, even though he wasn't out there.
Isn't it a VIC-20 game that Sizel was going on about? Cheese and Onion. That's a VIC-20 game, isn't it? A homebrew one.
Oh, pass. I don't know.
I'm sure that's the game that he keeps talking about. I am intrigued. I'm interested in a VIC-20. I've got to be honest, because I never had one. So, in fact, I didn't know anybody who had one either. So, that's always interested me.
But because I haven't got the nostalgia, I've had two, and yeah, I've let them both. And the last one was the old one, with like the weird PSU and yeah.
So the VIC-20 was before the Commodore 64, was it?
Yeah. So it was a PET. Yeah. PET was first, wasn't it? And then VIC-20.
Right.
I can play the VIC-20 games on my Maxi, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think the VIC-20 as well. I think that plays C64 games and all, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think it's the same thing inside.
The case is like white plastic. Even though nowadays they both look the same because of yellow and you can't really tell the difference. But back in the day, the VIC-20 was white.
Someone's put here the C64 Mini plays Vic ROMs. I didn't think it did. I think it's only the Maxi that does.
No, really?
I think it's only the Maxi that does. I'm sure it is.
I bet there'll be a firmware update to
probably.
It's got to be running Vice in the background or that CS64 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's something I've been playing. I'm just going to show you this quick clip here. So that's what I've been playing over the last few weeks. I really like it. I'm not really normally that into them sort of games, but I don't know what it is about that one. The music, I think, is one of the things. I got hooked the minute I started playing it, and I can't stop playing it now.
What's it called? What is it?
Icebox Plus.
Icebox Plus.
Has Paul muted his mic?
Yeah, I think Paul's muted his mic.
He's talking away. I couldn't hear him.
It was like that person in the corner, do you know, on like Emmerdale at like 2 o'clock in the morning doing the hand signs.
Yeah, no, it's a fun little puzzle game. Like, complicated, but
I'm not into puzzle games. Like, I really struggled when I was doing the Essential Amiga. I had to ask Paul about puzzle games because like I was really struggling. So it was when he put me on to Benefactor that I first discovered Benefactor, which I absolutely love now. But yeah, puzzle games is just not one that I play. But then I discovered Millie and Molly, and I think it's like, oh my god, that is just such. It's another like modern release.
That is one I do want to get, but it's bitmap soft, and it's like, do I want to go? What if the tape don't work?
He's made it free on itch.io. It's free now to download. So if you've got the Mini or the Maxi, you'll be able to play it. You'll be able to download it. You can give a donation if you want, but it's free now from yesterday. But yeah, that was what like opened my eyes up a bit more to puzzle games. And then when I saw that one that you'd done the video on, what was it, like a week and a half ago, it was superb. I was like, yeah, I really like that. But I've not played it.
Ice Blocks, yeah.
Yeah, Ice Blocks. It's really, really good. I think it looks nice.
It does get challenging.
Lee, you like that Barbar's Palace on the Amstrad and all, if you like that, because that's quite similar. It's more 2D, like, but it's good. That's going to be in one. I'm doing do you know how I've been doing videos on the best games after the system ended? So I'm doing the Amstrad one now, and that's probably going to be in there.
Oh, excellent! I'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah, somebody's just commented here, Paul. One of your favourite games here.
Oh, yeah.
I've put that on the mini, but I still haven't got around to playing it yet. I do need to play Degeneration.
Martin, I think I asked Martin to play it on his stream, and he put it on, and I thought it was a game that he was going to enjoy. But yeah, Degeneration is just like, it's just such a class game. It really is. I absolutely adore that game. It's, like I've only got 3 games for the CD32, but one of them has to be Degeneration. The CD32 version's awesome. It really is. Awesome game. Like they should re-release that. Like I think that would still do well these days. You know.
Yeah, maybe like on the Switch or something like that. I think it would work on something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a cool game.
Right. Okay, guys. So we're coming up to the 2-hour mark. So if we do what we normally do, go around each year, what you got coming up on your channels, what to look out for, etc., etc. Paul, what you got coming up?
Me Essential Commodore 64 videos coming out. So it's like where I've got 10 different genres and I only pick one game from each genre. And I think these are the games that you should play. I've done the Amiga one, which done really well. And yeah, next is the Commodore 64 one. But I'm going to go on the Amstrad and the Atari ST. I'm going to try and do them all. I'm going to need a little bit of help because, yeah, there's some systems that I don't know much about. So I'm going to need a bit of help. So I'll be asking for some help for some games to play. And yeah, that's what's next. Also, trying to put together a charity stream for Matt, who's Retro Skelly. Spent quite a bit of time in hospital. He has a condition called Crohn's disease. So I'm going to try and like promote a bit more for that, and do a high score challenge on an 8-bit shoot 'em up, and then we're going to do a live stream once all the results are in, and yeah, we're going to go through it like that, and like. So yeah, planning that, which is taking a bit of time to put together. So yeah, quiz is on hold due to that. And yeah, that's about it really for me.
Right, okay. Sounds good. Good, always good if you're doing a charity thing. I'm sure loads of people get involved, and I'll definitely want to be a part of that. That would be great. OSG, what you got coming up on your channel?
I'm a bit scatty me on what I do. I don't know what's coming up next. I'm working on loads of things. So I'm working on that Amstrad new games one. I'm working on a redo of me Outrun comparison because Lucas asked us to redo it in my new format where I have the arcade cabinet like at the side, so you can see the footage of the arcade cabinet. But I found a mint overlay for the arcade cabinet where the actual steering wheel moves. And
okay.
Moves. So I'm working on that. And what else was I doing? Atari 8-bit. Oh, I'm doing 2 more. So I'm doing Atari 8-bit games, what were released, like new homebrew games. And I'm doing a CollectorVision top 20 for someone as well.
Oh, nice.
When them come out, God knows. I've got no schedule, mate.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of like that a bit just lately. Yeah, I'd normally schedule an 8-bit video for Fridays, but the last week or two that's gone by the wayside. I mean, I was ill last week, so
no, I used to do 2 or 3 videos a week, and now over the last couple of months I've been doing 1 video every 2 weeks or something because I've just took over my son's football team, and it's an absolute. I didn't realize I'm just a parent turning up to this football, and I didn't realize what it entailed. It takes over your whole life.
Yeah,
I bet.
My
son's turned into the right twat and all since I took over. He's like, man.
That's standard. That is. Yeah, no, my youngest, he does football, and I've seen because his friend's dad is the coach, and I've seen what he's had to go through. So I don't envy you there, mate. Jesus. Yeah, you're right. It is a full-time job, isn't it?
We have a group chat with the parents, and somebody wrote something on or something, and then I wrote something like "It's snotty back," and this person wrote, like, this other person, like, of the group chat, messaged us, like, individually and says, I think you put that in the wrong chat. And I went, no, it's in the live fucking chat. I was proper performing.
It's amazing how football does that, isn't it?
Parents got me tits. Hope none of them's watching. I love you all, really.
Stu, what you got coming up on your channel?
Well, pretty much the same with me. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I decide then if I'm going to be doing something. I have started to get that itch to get back into some more Spectrum stuff again. It must be about 6 months since I last touched the A to Z X of the Spectrum. And I'm getting the itch again. But I don't think I'm just going to focus fully on Spectrum. I think I'm going to go back and look at my favourite games from every year, from 1982 right through to current, because I really need something that's a series again to work on. So,
yeah,
I tell you what would be a good one. What I did for mine, and it was a great series. It was the A to Z of the hidden gems, but for the Spectrum that would be mint. Because I did it for C64 and it lasted us ages, and it's one of my most viewed series is on my channel and all. Be a great thing that for Spectrum.
Dig up some hidden gems, yeah. Definitely.
This is loads.
Scott, what have you got coming up?
Well, after the London Gamer Market and being able to pick up some more Mega Drive stuff, it's really got me buzzing for the Mega Drive again. So I'm thinking of some Mega Drive videos, showing off the Sega wall, getting some Mega Drive content back on the channel, back on Sega Zombie, and also loads of Spectrum. I've got lots of Spectrum ideas that I'm working on in the background as well. So there'll be plenty of Spectrum spectaculars and loads of Mega Drive stuff.
Nice. Right, before I tell you what I've got going on, I just want to show this. I love that bit at the end where it says "accept no invitation." I love that. So as you could see there, 16th of July, 8 p.m. Scott's hosting it, I believe. That's right, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, it is. I'm a bit nervous. You've chucking me in the deep end.
I bet it is going to be massive, man. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know we had a big stream last time, but
yeah, and I'm never putting on my Dominic Diamond costume again for these guys, right?
I mean, that was a good stream, but this one,
mate,
it's
gonna blow away.
But we can't say nothing, because the last time when we let it out the bag what was going to happen, somebody else did something, didn't they? So we won't go into all that rubbish. But anyway, we're keeping this one, we're keeping our cards close to our chest on this, aren't we, fellas? So really looking forward to this one. As far as for me, I'm going to have an 8-bit video or maybe a 16-bit video. I don't know yet. On Friday. Pickups video possibly coming as well because I picked a few bits up just lately. And also, I've started a separate channel. Now, there isn't any content on it yet. But I've started a channel called EnGo Collectibles. And that's because, like I hinted at earlier, I like to collect other things other than just games. I do like my collectibles. My son does as well. My youngest and my eldest also collect graphic novels, things like that too. So I wanted to do that separate from the Nerdy Geezer channel because whenever we've done it on there, I don't know what's going on, but it never seems to do well. So I wanted to separate that. So yeah, so that's called EnGo Collectibles. So hopefully I'll have a vid coming up on that soon. But that's going to be more relaxed than the gaming one. It's just going to be if and when, you know. So other than that, I think that's it. Anything else anybody else wants to mention? I'll take that as a no.
No, it's 10:05. It's time to chill, and yeah, I really enjoyed getting the crack tonight, lads. It's always nice. It's always nice to speak to you, Lee, Paul, Stuart, and Scott. Yeah, bunch of really good panel tonight. I've enjoyed being part of it.
Yeah, and it's been new because there's 5 of us. Normally it's 4, isn't it? So yeah. What I want to say is thanks everybody who's in the chat for starters, because it's been very busy in the chat. There's a lot of good conversation going on there. I've really enjoyed reading some of this as well. And also thanks to you guys for coming on here, because the stream wouldn't be what it is without you guys keep coming on. So, I mean, I keep trying to pay you to get rid of you lot, but you keep coming back, you know what I mean?
You to come on. I love
it. So all there is left to do, and this is a bit of a tradition, guys, is that we always do like a dodgy wave, like you're on an 80s game show as the credits roll. So see you later, guys. Thanks for watching the stream. And here we go.